Let's go! What just happened with the Jaden Rashada mess? If anybody has the facts, please comment down below, because this has been a disaster on so many different fronts. And if all the other SEC programs were to ever watch one video that I would do, it would be this one, because this NIL stuff is becoming a mess. And I don't think anyone would disagree that name, image, and likeness is a good thing, but this is just bizarre from top to bottom. And I hope this doesn't happen to any other universities. Obviously, Florida is not my favorite school. I've made that explicitly clear. And just a few weeks ago, I actually did a video complimenting Billy Napier. I think Florida was heading in the right direction, but, I'm starting to question some things. And I understand that the quote-unquote Gator Collective, and for those that don't know what that is the name, image, and likeness group for the Florida Gators. Man, Florida, I know it's already being rumored that they are trying to distance themselves from the Gator Collective, but, these NIL collectives aren't oftentimes affiliated with the schools at all. So this is honestly just a mess, and man, what I hope happens is this was just a diabolical mastermind scheme by a Miami fan, because it does seem like this. This was a match lit on fire, thrown on a pile of gasoline, basically. Pile of gasoline, it's a fluid. Still, let's talk about this. So, Jaden Rashada was promised a $13 million deal, allegedly. ESPN says, according to a source that the Associated Press reported or something like that Jaden Rashada was offered a $13 million contract. Now, what I will share is via a Miami source. I was told that number was closer to $9 million, which would make more sense. That's what Nico, the kid at Tennessee, allegedly got paid, $8 million over 4 years. And once again, this isn't a per year deal. This is over the course of a 4-year period. So, first off, I don't believe Rashada got a $13 million deal. I understand it is within the realm of possibility. It is plausible that some super billionaire Gator donor out there paid him or agreed to pay him this amount of money. But it's highly unlikely, just being quite honest with you. Think about it. $13 million. Okay, $13 million over a 4-year period. That would make him, more than likely, I don't know the Florida coach's salaries off the top of my mind, but I would guess only Billy Napier would be getting paid more than an unproven high school quarterback. Now, Jaden Rashada does have some really good arm talent, but is he special? Not by the recruiting rankings. He is a top 100 quarterback, which is obviously very, very good. He has the potential to be special, but I don't know if I would just give that unproven to anybody. I doubt even Arch Manning is getting that amount of money. And obviously he would actually be giving you some ROI on that investment because of his last name as much as his actual ability, which is also yet to be seen. So the first thing is I am highly skeptical that a $13 million number was actually going to be given to a high school football player that is unproven. Like, really think about that. And the imbalances that would cause in a locker room. That just does not make sense at all. The second thing is, obviously, there is a communication issue with the Florida Gators football program. Obviously, the recruiting class for this year turned out to be really good. Once again, I will link it at the end of this video. My final thoughts on the first year under Billy Napier. But, man, I wish this story had come out when I initially did the video, because this obviously is not a good look in year one. You lose to Vandy. You get absolutely blown to smithereens in the bowl game. The portal hasn't necessarily been as good to you as it has some of these other SEC schools like an LSU. This is just wild. Honestly, this is just wild. It's not entirely on Florida. It's not entirely on the Gator Collective. It's not entirely on Jaden Rashada, even though it does seem like most of this is on the Gator Collective. Once again, this could just be one diabolical rumor that was spread around. But, man, it's just not good. And what I would say, if there were high school recruits out there, be skeptical of all deals, right? There are some players that I have heard of that has been beating on the door saying, hey, where's my money? Some of this NIL stuff isn't actually coming through. Some of these deals aren't coming through, and that is not a shock to anybody. So what I will say is, well, let me let Chris Doering, Florida Gators former wide receiver. I know Chris. I've been on the radio with him before. Let's hear what he has to say about all of this.
Including starting with the NCAA for not having more foresight about this long ago. That ship has certainly sailed. But where we are now, somebody needs to provide leadership. And I think in the case of this Jaden Rashada situation, there was no leadership provided. From the Fox News report, this NIL deal with the Gator Collective was canceled on December 7th. Signing day is not till December 21st. Who were the adults that were telling Jaden Rashada to either sign or not sign with the University of Florida based upon promised money?
Bam! I'm looking at you. Yes, you. Hope you subscribe on the road to 2K subscribers. So as you can tell, Doering wasn't really happy with all of this. There is a lack of leadership in a major way. And, man, I got to be honest, just reading the Florida Gator fans out there, it seems as if you guys are pretty fed up with Scott Strickland. And it's hard to not be, because this, honestly, is just such a freaking mess. So I'll read with you what I've been told by people that really know the Florida Gator program. One tells me that he originally heard that the contract was for only $7 million. Once again, that would make sense. Nico is a higher rated recruit. He got 8, so $7 million seems like a more negotiable contract. But if you're thinking 13 and they're telling you 7, I could see why you feel some type of way about that. But right now, if you're Jaden Rashada, where are you going to sign? Right? I don't know. I heard Pete Thamel say something about Washington. Whatever the case may be, it's a mess, right? And I know Miami fans are going in on you, but, Carmani McClain just left Miami. I guess all the Florida programs just don't have their ish together. Now, the second thing I would say is, and this is just common sense for me, okay? There was a rumor before the year began that Drake May was being offered $5 million to go transfer to whichever school, which honestly I think he is worth, right? If you are a championship contender and you are not necessarily great enough at quarterback, $5 million seems reasonable for a guy that for sure is going to go into the top 10 next year in the NFL draft, but it is also a little bit on the higher end, if you ask me. But, I could see that for someone that's proven, right? But I want you to really think, do you think there's any prospect out there that somebody would pay $13 million for? I just can't get over that one thing, right? I have a tough time believing that. I really, really, really do. Now, what does this mean moving forward? No matter what is actually true or not, there are going to be some college football fans that just don't like this. I don't think they will necessarily leave the sport like some people are complaining about on Twitter, because once again, name, image, and likeness, it's just a little bit of the pie. The games still happen. If you really love college football, you're not going to leave because of name, image, and likeness. But this is a little bit of a stain on the NIL collectives, on the programs, on the coaches, on the athletic departments, because there is no communication, there is no regulation, and once again, some of this falls on the NCAA as well, because they, quite frankly, were just denying that pay per play via the NIL was inevitable. And something else we need to realize as well is name, image, and likeness is not in the spirit of name, image, and likeness anymore, which, you sponsor a program like a bag of chips and, your face is on the bag of chips, or you sign some autographs or whatever. No, this is straight up pay for play stuff. And through the idea of collectives, let me know what you guys think about this. Are you hating college football more because of all of this mess? So the reason why I'm not sharing a whole lot of specific details, other than what a few people have told me up to this point, is nobody really knows. And we might not ever know what the contract details were. We might not ever know if there was something written up by, for $13 million or not. We'll never know. But whatever the case may be, this was a mess. Do I think we'll see more of this? No. I think, this was obviously a very extreme example. I think we'll see some more of this, but not a whole lot. What I do think, though, will happen is the Drake May situation, right? I do think there's going to be off seasons where quarterbacks, in particular, but just other players as well, will obviously transfer for more cash, right? I think we saw some players do that already this year, some from the SEC going out west, and some of you might know who I'm talking about. So it is very, very interesting. But honestly, any of the rules you think the NCAA is going to enforce about the name, image, and likeness or the transfer portal, though the spirit of those rules are no longer, right? Obviously, name, image, and likeness, the transfer portal, people tamper before, while they're on other teams. We did a video where I think some of that could have been involved with A.D. Mitchell. So if you want to see that, that's one of our YouTube shorts. But the bottom line here is this was just an ugly, ugly week for Florida football. And this offseason for the Gators is going to be very long, right? You got Utah, Cam Rising. It's going to be a long, long, long offseason. And hopefully there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Now, comment down below your thoughts on today's video. It's juicy. It's a very juicy story, but man, it's wild. It is Power Hour SEC Bam. And tonight we are doing spaghetti night 2. Let's go.